Hi guys, welcome back to the Colour Cave with Gem, and here we are ready to complete, hopefully, fingers crossed, our final section of just colouring in Hanna Karlzon's Summer Nights. So where we got to last time was we had finished off our petals and we had started on these little sort of droplet parts here. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to continue on down and do the same on this side and get these ones done. Then we're going to do a little bit of work on our gems and the finishing touches and we should be done. So I'm hoping we're going to get finished this video, I really am. So just a quick recap of the colours that we were using for the yellow parts. I have light cadmium yellow, I have light yellow glaze, and last but not least I have dark cadmium yellow. So we'll get zoomed in and we can get going. Okay, so if you remember the process for doing this part was really quick, and we're starting with our, see how I've been keeping a note in my colours, very trendy. Starting with our darkest yellow, which is the dark cadmium yellow, and pressing hard, I'm just going straight in and pulling down. And I'm making these all different lengths because I don't want them to be uniform. I want it to be quite an interesting area of the picture to look at. So it's important that I get a little bit of variety while we're doing this. Moving on to our next colour, our mid-tone, which is the light cadmium yellow. Just bringing this down. Now, as I said in the last video as well, the yellows are really easy to blend, and I think it's just because it's a paler colour for the eye. So maybe they'd blend just the same, but it's just that the human eye doesn't pick it up quite as much. But I seem to get on really well with these in terms of a nice quick blend. And then with our final colour, we are colouring in these half moon shapes. So I'm colouring in these sort of half circle shapes, that nice little C shape round the bottom of these. Like this. I'm making sure that I've not missed any this time. I seemed to miss 2 or 3 last time. Wasn't paying attention. This is quite nice to have a really quick part to do because these petals did take us quite a long time to get through, so it's quite refreshing to have something that's a bit more straightforward. Oh, right, I'm trying to avoid this little white speck here. It's not imperative, so don't worry about it, because we're going to fix that. That's going to be the last thing that we do before we finish up. So now that I've done that, I'm going back in with my darkest yellow and I'm making sure that my point is really sharp, and I'm just doing that tiny little line to add a bit of dimension. Just one line, pressing hard, bringing it, following that C shape that we've just coloured in. There we go, abracadabra. Now for these little sort of pearls and, I don't know what you want to call them, or chain parts, I really, I had to think about this a lot before I decided on what I was doing. And what I've decided to do is to take this darkest yellow, because that way it'll be in keeping with what we've got round about it, and it's not going to take away from the actual gems themselves, because the last thing I want is the eye to be drawn away from these, because they are, you know, a sort of focal point in the picture apart from the petals. So I wanted to keep this reasonably subtle, and all I'm doing is that C shape again that I did before, but I'm filling in most of the circular parts. And again, I'm just going to work my way around here. I'm not overly concerned about how neat and tidy this is, if I'm honest. Okay, looking good. Because if by doing them this colour, they almost feel as if they're part of the flower. And when I come to these straight up and down parts here, I'm just putting a line along the right hand side because my C shapes have gone this way. So all I'm doing there is mirroring what I've already done. And again, if yours is on the other side, that is absolutely a-okay. I just favour that side because I'm a lefty. You will need quite a sharp point for doing this though, so that you don't make a mess. Now what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to take my orange glaze, which was the lightest colour from the tips of our petals. And where these beads go in behind the gemstone, I'm just going to pop in a tiny little bit to darken it down slightly. Again, it's kind of similar to the way we use the Payne's Grey up here, but the Payne's Grey is far too strong for this in my opinion. So that's something that I don't really want to do, and I'm just going to do the same up here as well. There we go. And we'll move over and do the ones on the other flower as well now. So back to my dark cadmium yellow. And just the little C shapes. Make it worthwhile. This is quite quick as well, which is nice. So outside of the Colour Cave window today, it is beautiful bright sunshine and it is very, very warm, which we are mostly enjoying. Had a nice barbecue last night and got a bit of sun, so that was all very pleasant and good. Our record of barbecues in 1 year is 4, and yesterday we surpassed that. We are on barbecue number 5 of the summer. That is pretty good going. Alright then, so let's think about these gemstones here. And what I have decided to do, again I have given it quite a lot of thought, is I have decided to take the mid shade from each of our colour combinations, notwithstanding the green of the leaves. We're not going to use them. So from the purple range that we had for the spotty top part of these flowers, I have taken the crimson, and from the reddish collection I have taken the deep red, and from the yellows I have taken excuse me, the light cadmium yellow. So these are the 3 sort of main colours that I'm going to be working with. And as I've done already, I am going to go lightly to begin with. And if I like my colour placement, etc., then I can start to darken things down if that's what I want. So I'm just going to see how this goes. Now, when it comes to light sources, it's quite complicated with faceted gems, and it's something that I'm not going to get into. I don't think I would be able to explain myself entirely and make clear what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to have to rehearse a sort of description for faceted gemstones before I colour in anything else. So what I want to do is here, I'm just going to pick out certain facets, so certain sides of each gem, and I'm just going to put a light layer of the colour down till we see where they're going to sit and how they're going to look. So I kind of want to do this randomly. You know, I don't want it to be too regimented. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to go in with this red and pick out maybe these 2. And then I'm going to take my yellow and see how that looks. Okay, so I'm happy there. I do want to keep some of the facets white as well, and again that's really just to represent the light being bounced about inside essentially what is a sort of prism type effect. So now that I'm happy with that, I am going to, first thing I'm going to do is sharpen my pencils. I really want to bring in some of the orange. It's just talking to me and that's what it's saying. So I think I might get the orange glaze, which was the lightest from the red selection up here, and I might use that as well. I want to use it sparingly though, So maybe just this one and this one. Yeah, okay, I think we'll go for that. Okay. So now what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to put in another layer on my coloured areas. I'm not going to bring these to the vibrancy that I have got the petals. Again, it's more the thinking about the light going through them. They're not going to be really vibrant colours in my logical or illogical brain. So I do want to keep them quite light. And the likes of this one here, where I've got quite a large surface, I'm going to have one side slightly darker than the other. To fill that in a little bit there. It's really just to give it a little bit of depth. So I'll move on to my red, because you can see now that I've done that, though the red actually looks very orange. So we want to try and remedy that slightly, giving it a bit more vibrancy. There we go. So the difference there between, because there's the red and the orange next to each other, and you can see that that looks much better, and that's just 2 layers of pencil, you know, that's not going at it hammer and tongs, as it were. So I'm going to do the same with this one down here. Now the way I'm fading the pencil out, I'm not actually doing it in any sort of scientific way. Again, don't get too caught up with stuff like that, especially when you're working on a faceted gem. There are loads of tutorials out there that show you how to do it properly. I'm not really concerned with that right now. I just want to make a pretty picture. I'm going to take my orange. Oh, that was maybe a bit heavy-handed there. There we go, and then I'm just going to do this wee bit up the top here. Alright, that looks quite nice. If I bring this down, you can see it next to the flower. So it is picking up the colours from the flower, but it's not overpowering. I did want to keep the impact of the flowers because they are the largest part of the picture. But I think it's important that although we still want the eye to be drawn to them, I don't want them to take away from the petals. So that's the line of thinking, guys. And all I'm going to do is go down here and, excuse me, using the same colours, do a little bit of the same with these. So really lightly to begin with, just to make sure I'm happy with where I'm putting the colours. I have to decide where I'm putting them now. Ah. There we go, that's good to me. So this past week I went out running for the first time in nearly 3 weeks, and the reason that I've not been out running is because of all the crazy things that have been happening, like Mr. Jem being in hospital and being unwell and trying to organise my wedding. I have become incredibly busy at my own work as well, not at the farm, just all of a sudden. So things have been a little bit hectic, and when they get hectic, my running's usually the first thing that suffers, which it's a shame, but I have to maintain a level of income outside of the farm. That's quite important, not really for financial reasons, but more for my own self-worth and my own sanity. So yeah, work's become quite busy all of a sudden, and yeah, the running kind of got left languishing in the in the background. So I have been out, and I have probably picked the worst time to decide to go back out on account of it being absolutely bloody roasting. I don't run well in the heat anyway. I'm a person that naturally runs hot. By that I mean that my temperature is quite elevated and my body heats up really quickly regardless of the outside temperature, and generally anything over 16 degrees Celsius I start to feel it and it starts to affect my performance. So yeah, well done Jem, 10 out of 10 for picking picking like the hottest week of the year to start back out after having a 2 to 3 week break. So needless to say, it's been a bit of a struggle. It's definitely not been pretty, I can tell you that. I'm actually quite glad that I have the farm to run around, because that way nobody can see me huffing and puffing and plodding along. But it is nice to get back out. I'm enjoying it immensely. I always do. I'm sure I've talked about my running before, but it's just something that I really, really enjoy. Although the last few days have been quite strenuous. But it doesn't take me long. It'll only take me a week or so to get back into the swing of it properly, and I'll be back firing on all cylinders. So that'll be quite good. I try and get out really early in the morning while it's as cool as possible. The other morning I went out and it was 18 degrees Celsius, and that was at 6:30 in the morning. And that day was a scorcher, so I was really glad that I went out early, but I really wouldn't advise it. Alrighty, moving down on to this next one now. Where to go next? Maybe here. And my red. And last but not least, my purple. It's really nice, I think, sometimes when you are colouring, just to be able to pick things at random like this. A lot of the time I bang on about, you know, making sure that you have a think about what you're doing before you start, and planning things and all the rest of it. And generally, for me, it does provide a better outcome. My pictures usually turn out better, and you know, there's a lot to be said for it. However, picking things at random like this, it gives you a sense of freedom. And because I mean, really, this, you know, your colouring's supposed to be a creative pursuit, which for a lot of people is a release from a sort of daily drudgery type thing, you know, and you have a lot more freedom. And I think it's important that you express that, you know, whenever you can. So I find it quite liberating, but it's still within a controlled environment whereby I'm not going to be panicked into worrying that I've ruined a picture, because I know that can be, that is, you know, it's like a sense of sort of anxiety, and it can be a source of a kind of stressor, and I've seen people struggling with that before. And it's back to the same old thing that I keep saying. It's only a piece of paper, nobody's going to die, so don't worry about it too much. But if you are one of those people that worries about, you know, your picture not being perfect or whatever, this is a really great way to give yourself that bit of freedom. And, you know, as Mr. Jem would say, get your giddy knickers on without, you know, too much of a sort of consequence if something goes horribly wrong. So I would strongly encourage you to try it. If you are colouring along with this, don't pick the same squares as me. Squares, facets, you know, these shapes. Don't pick the same ones in the same colours. Go on, you can do it. Just push the boat out a bit and get a little bit wild and pick your own. Okie dokie, we'll move down to the set of the other three, which is down a bit here. There we go. That's nice. Yeah, okay. I'm just picking these just absolutely at random. I'm trying not to, the only thing I am doing, that's something I will say, it's not completely random. I'm trying not to have two of the same colour side by side, you know, I'm trying not to have two adjacent facets with the same colour on them. And that's really just for aesthetics more than anything else. I dare say it would look all right, to be honest. I don't think it's going to look awful if you do that, but in my head, my logic is that it's about balancing the colours out. So that's kind of my thinking on that. But again, it's one of these things, as long as you're happy with your picture, you know, I can sit here and I'm more or less giving you guidance. If you are colouring along, you know, I'm just here to sort of give you a guiding hand. It's not you have to do this, you must do that. It's really, really important to express yourself and go with your gut. I've heard people talk a lot, and I see it a lot in colouring groups, when people ask, they have a picture and they're kind of stumped and they don't really know what colours things should be, and they ask people in the group, you know, what do you think I should do with this? What colour should this be? And a lot of people come up with the same answer, and I think it's so true. And that is, you've got to let the page speak to you. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, but it's something that I'm a great believer in it. And if a page isn't speaking to me, then I don't colour it. I will go back to it at a later stage when it is ready to talk to me. And because I feel like if you don't have a general direction, or, you know, a sort of bolt of inspiration, then if you go ahead and force yourself to colour that picture, then essentially there's a chance you'll run the risk of having a sort of lacklustre performance, as it were, and your picture will probably come out flat. Now, you'll have heard people say about artists that quite often their expression and their emotions come out in their artwork, and the same can be said of colouring, and I think that's one of those times when that actually happens. And it's definitely the case. I'm sure of it, because I've seen it myself, and sometimes I've forced myself to sort of push through a page that I'm colouring, and I'm maybe not even particularly enjoying it, and it's starting to become a chore. And rather than just set the pencil down and go and colour something else, I've ended up sort of persevering and struggling my way through it. And then I've been really dissatisfied with the end result. And not to say that I've made any mistakes in particular, or that was a little bit heavy-handed there. Not that I've made any particular mistakes, but I'm just really unhappy with the finished article, and I think it's just because there's not been the same love that's gone into the picture. So don't force yourself to do things. You know, if it has to sit as a work in progress for, you know, in a cupboard or on a shelf for a wee while, that's fine too. You can go back to it. You can always go back to it. Go start something else that does talk to you. And it might just give you that sort of little motivational boost as well. When you're getting on well with something else, it might get your creative juices flowing, and you might find that you get a moment of inspiration regarding the one that you've abandoned, and you can go back to it. I'm just not happy with this yellow in here. There we go. Right, okay, last one. Last one. I think we'll go in here this time. And down here. And this one up here. Red. This one. I wonder if, just talking about, you know, being inspired, or, you know, feeling like your colouring is a chore, I would be interested to know by anyone who is watching whether or not doing a colour along helps with that. Does it make you select pictures, or does it make you colour pictures that you wouldn't normally colour because you have guidance? Or does it help you get through a dry patch in terms of inspiration for colours? I'd be really interested in your thoughts and, you know, your experiences in that, because I think that's quite interesting. I tend to find I'm inspired by watching other people's work or viewing it, and that's why we all have Instagram accounts and, you know, all the rest of it. Speaking of which, check out the Colour Caves Instagram page. I'll put the link in the description if you fancy going and checking out all my other artwork which goes on there. Right, we have finished our little gems now. I'm just going to zoom this out and you can have a look. Look, so pretty. Now, if you take away that green, if I do that, it's still nice, but it's lacking something. And by bringing that green in, I think that just balances that perfectly. I am really super, super pleased with this. Super pleased. Okay, the only thing that leaves for me to do is to blend out these petals here. If you remember way back, I think it was like 2 or 3 videos ago, I said I wasn't happy with the texture of the purple ones, but I wanted to leave it on the kind of red and orange ones. So I'm just going to go over them with my, I think I'm going to use a blender pencil. I might have to try on an inconspicuous part first. I'm using, it is a Derwent blender pencil that I am using to go over it. I don't know if there is a polychromos blending pencil. If anyone can answer that, please leave me a comment and let me know, but I don't think Faber-Castell do a blending pencil for the polychromos. Anyway, I've had these ones for years and I really like them. They seem to behave quite well with a lot of pencils, so that tends to be the one that I go for. So I'm just going to try it in here, in this little section here. Yeah, that's coming up quite nicely. I don't know if that's apparent to you. Oh yeah, you can see that. Now when I'm doing this, I've got to be careful and I've got to watch my Payne's Grey shadows around the outside because I don't want to pull them out, you know, into the petal. So I'm just going in teeny weeny circular motions and I'm pressing quite hard. But I'm just avoiding that grey area as much as I can. Just smooth this out. It doesn't have to be absolutely, you know, like baby's bum smooth. I'm not that particular, but I just feel that it's far too rough because again I talked about how busy the areas were. So I just want to make it a little bit more kind of streamlined and a little bit more sensible looking. So I'm working my way around the outside of my highlight. I'm kind of avoiding it slightly. I just want to get the rest of the kind of heavily pigmented areas done first. Just smoosh that all in together, and then after that I can come down in here. And I'm being careful to try and preserve that highlight as much as I can. There you can see the difference already. That's like, you know, that is like night and day compared to the ones next door, how grainy this is. So that, I think I'm going to be quite happy with that. And it seems to be making the paler shades of purple just sort of pop out a bit more, which I'm quite happy with as well. That's definitely an added Brucey bonus. Yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm happy with that. The more I look at it, the happier it's making me, so that's usually a good sign. So I'm just going to carry on. I'll go this way first, and then I can go over the other way and carry on onto the other flower. So with all this hot weather that we have been having, I have seen so many articles and posts on Facebook and all these kinds of things about protecting your dog in the heat, and there has been some absolute horror stories. Now I know that down in the south in England, they've had very warm temperatures, and it's been a lot more extreme than we have in Scotland, and it usually is, to be fair. We tend to be slightly cooler up here, and the stories, and it's vets and people like that are posting these stories about animals that they've tried to help in one thing and another, and it is absolutely terrifying. And it's a combination of people not being used to these types of temperatures, therefore not really knowing what they should and shouldn't do with their dog. It's not always common sense. A lot of it is common sense, but you know, these temperatures are quite extreme, which we're not used to handling on a regular basis. But it's a combination of not knowing what to do and also not knowing where to take your dog or how to treat your dog if they do get in trouble. As a farmer who has sheep dogs, obviously they have to work in the heat and they have to exert themselves. You know, it's not just running about chasing a ball. We are very well versed on how to keep a dog's temperature in the comfort zone, and we know when to stop and when they should and shouldn't be out and about, and you know how much work they should be doing. And I am so sad for all the people that have had to take their dogs to the vet. I'm sad for the animals as well, and there's a few that haven't made it. It absolutely breaks my heart. So if you know someone who has a dog, or if you are a doggy lover yourself, please, please, please get educated. If you're not, animal isn't used to being in hot temperatures. It's really important that you read up and you know what you should and shouldn't do with your dog when it gets warm, because so many tragic accidents could be prevented, and so many dogs that get in trouble could be, you know, successfully recovered without too much effort and without too much trauma to the owner or the dog. It's just one of those things I feel so strongly about, and I absolutely hate people taking their dogs in the cars, even when it's slightly warm. It is completely unacceptable. Leave your dog at home. Don't let the poor thing be uncomfortable just because you decide you want to take it somewhere. I've got a real thing about that. I don't know about in other countries, but in the UK, you can legally smash the window of a car on a hot day if there is a baby or a dog inside. The chances are you will probably go to court, but in the modern day of mobile phones, if you video the situation before you smash the window, you have a much better chance of it standing up in court. And that came from my friend who is a police officer, so there you go. But I wouldn't hesitate. If I saw a small child or a dog in a car with the windows up on a hot day, I'd be straight in there. Apparently you've also to phone the police straight away, preferably before you've smashed the window. Good to know. So again, it's one of those things where, being in the UK, you know, we aren't in a particularly hot country, although it's lovely just now. So I would be interested to hear what it's like and if anybody knows about the laws or anything in their country. Again, it's just something that interests me, having dogs and having always had dogs, and knowing what they go through. There was actually, while I remember, that's just made something pop in my head. There was a guy on YouTube, and I can't remember his name or anything like that, I just saw it in passing, and he actually did a scientific experiment whereby he locked himself in a hot car with I don't think it was a jacket he had on, it might have been a sort of thick jumper or something, I can't really remember, it was a while ago, and he basically left himself in the car to overheat without any windows being open, to simulate what happens to a dog, and he was really, really unwell after that, and I think eventually they had to pull him out the car because he was going to pass out or something, and it was frighteningly quick. I mean, you would have expected it to have taken maybe like a half hour or something, and in the corner, you know, at the top of the screen, it was showing you the temperature inside the car, and he got sick really quickly. It was frightening. So I found that fascinating. That just appeals to my scientific side, because I'm aware of all the processes and the biochemical pathways and everything that fires up, you know, within the body. So it's something that I do find interesting, but I was really shocked at how quickly the gentleman started to overheat. Which brings me back to my point, if that happens to a human in a hot car, put a fur coat on and then take away the ability to sweat, and then you kind of get where your poor dogs are if they're in the car on a hot day. So anyway, aside from that, my dogs don't go anywhere. We have, well, that's strictly not true. Our dogs have to travel in the back of our pickup truck, but they are kept in the shade, and when they're travelling, there is a front grate and a back grate on the back of the canopy on the pickup truck, so when you start to drive there is a constant airflow. It's a bit like being in a wind tunnel actually. During the winter I think the poor dogs must be bloody freezing when you drive anywhere. It's quite entertaining as well, because Jock has ears that sit up but they fold over at the top, so when you're driving along in the truck, the tops of his ears flap in the breeze, and I always think he looks comical. It's funny. Okay, the final and finishing touch that we're going to add to the picture. If you remember rightly, way back at the start, like a gazillion videos ago, I was putting down my gelato, and I wasn't being very careful with all these wee white spots. I was just like, it's fine, we'll get it later. So now I'm going to remedy that, and I'm just going to grab a white gel pen. I have many. What's this one? Uniball Signal, and this is a broad tip one. And I am just going to work my way around all these little dots. Something I find really helpful is that when you are using gel pen over pencil, sometimes the tip can get clogged and it skips, and you have to sort of scribble out to get the ink flow going again. I find it really useful to use a coloured post-it note because it's really easy to see when it's starting to work again. You can see I've already been scribbling on this one here. That's just something that I like to do. I find it quite handy. Obviously the darker the colour of the post-it note, the better it is. Traditionally, I have never got on particularly well with rollerball pens of any description, let alone gel pens. So that I find that really handy, so hopefully that'll be handy for someone else as well. Okay, this is going to be really methodical. Now again, you're trying not to smudge what you've done because gel pen does take a little bit to dry. So I'm going to start in this top right hand corner and I'm going to kind of work in a mowing the lawn sort of pattern so that I don't smudge anything. You have to find what works best for you. You might find it easier working bottom to top or whatever, but just go for it. And I'm just filling in these wee dots with my gel pen. Now this could take me quite some time, however, I'm ready, I'm up for it. My best friend, her dog is a cross between a Labrador and a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, what is affectionately known as a Staffordor. And he as he's got older, he has developed a lot more of the Labrador traits rather than the Staffy Terrier traits, and he's got really greedy in his old age, which I find hilarious because he was never like that when he was younger and he was never like that as a pup. So his latest thing is waiting until my friend leaves the house, and he then decides that I'm just looking at this while I'm talking and I am not happy with the way that the gel pen is sitting over the black lines. Now I am thinking to myself, I have two options here. I can black out the lines completely, like I can blot them out with the white gel pen, or I can go back over it with a black fine liner, which I think is what I'm going to do. I think that's a better idea. Yes, so, and do you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to change from this gel pen to the slim tipped one, the normal one. I'm still using a Uniball Signal. I'm just using the smaller tipped one. Let's see if I can make a better job of this. Yeah, so his latest thing is pinching the loaf of bread off the kitchen counter when my friend leaves the house. And he eats the entire loaf. So my friend has tried hiding it, and she's put it up high on a really high up shelf out the way so that he can't get to it. I think he's tried though. You know, he has been looking for it, but obviously not been so successful, or unsuccessful in his case. But the other day my friend texted me a message and it just said, he's eaten my face cream. Now my friend has issues with her skin, so she's got to be very careful what she puts on it, and she has found that some of the delicate skincare products from Lush seem to agree with her skin. And if anybody's ever shopped in Lush, you'll know that it's not particularly expensive, but it's definitely not cheap. And most of their products are made from natural ingredients like strawberries or vanilla or now you can see where I'm going with this. The dog's obviously going to want to eat it because it's going to smell absolutely delicious. And she had bought herself a new tub of this face cream. I can't remember which one it was, but it smelled absolutely beautiful. And when she went out one day, I think she was only out for about 20 minutes or something, and she came back and the tub was lying on the floor with the lid off it, and it was empty. And the dog had eaten the whole lot. So she was number one quite worried that he would make himself ill, but she read through the ingredients and they were, I think bar one, they were all actual like proper food ingredients. So she wasn't overly concerned, but she thought it might make him sick. And obviously she was now in the position where she had no face cream. Yeah, it turned out he was neither up nor down, he was absolutely fine. And she just had no face cream and her face was really dry for a day or two. But she says what's happening now is that when every time she sits down to put her makeup on and like put her face cream on, he sits beside her and licks his lips. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Just imagine this big black dog sitting beside her, looking at her as if to say, "You gonna give me some of that?" I thought that was brilliant. I really like labs. Like I'm really into Labradors, but I would just never have one because of that greedy factor. They are insane and they will eat until they are absolutely sick. I seem to be getting on a lot better with this smaller nib. So my bad to those of you who started with the same one. I'm sorry. Getting through them reasonably quick. I think there's only a couple up here that I'm going to have to touch up with my fine liner. I'll see how that goes. But I am trying to be careful to stay inside the black areas. And this is one of those things where you're really not, unless you have gone like way over all of them, you're actually not going to notice it that much because we've used such a pale colour for the background. But it's one of those ones where I know it's there. And if I know it's there, it's going to bug me until it's not there anymore. So I'm better just to cut my losses and just get on with it and and do this. That's the kind of silly thing that annoys me and I can't let it go. Okay, pretty good. I'll do this little clump up the top now. It's better. I'm trying to be very careful not to lean over what I've already done, because that would just be a disaster. You can tell I'm gone quiet because I'm concentrating again. Nearly there though, there's not much more to do. Hoping by the time that I have finished with the white gel pen that this section up here will have dried and I can go back in and fix it up a little bit. In a way, I'm kind of glad that that's happened while I've been doing, while I've been filming this, because I really don't want everyone to get a false impression of colouring in general. One of the things that kind of it does annoy me, I suppose it does annoy me, is that people will see videos of colouring pages and they have been done in time lapse, and I think that a lot of the time it gives people the impression that they should be finished. If they decide to colour the same picture, it shouldn't take them as long as they think, because they've seen it in time lapse and they think, oh well, if the time lapse was 20 minutes, maybe I can do it in an hour. You've no idea how fast or how much that the video has been sped up, and I don't think it's good. I think it's good for people to see things done in real time. Perhaps not all the time. There are times where using time lapse is really helpful and it's worthwhile, but I think doing things in real time like this and being able to see things like making mistakes, like I'm not saying that was a mistake, well yeah, it was a mistake, let's be realistic, but it's I think it's important for people to see things like that happening because it keeps it real. Nobody spits out beautiful perfect colour pages every time, especially without a wee bit of deviation from the original plan. It very rarely happens, and everyone makes mistakes at some point. We're human. That's what humans do. We're not infallible. So I'm kind of glad this has happened so that you can see that much as I'm quite confident in my abilities when it comes to colouring, I still have moments where I make a wrong judgment, or something doesn't turn out the way I would like it to turn out, or whatever. So I'm kind of glad that you can see that. There we go. I'm happy with the way the rest of the white gel pen has gone. I'm quite satisfied with that. I'm not satisfied with this top corner from about here up, and I don't know how well you can see that from that angle, but if I do this, you can see it kind of looks untidy in places. So I'm going to have to fix that, and what I'm going to do is pop my gel pen down because I'm finished with it, and I am going to dig out my finest fine liner that I can find. So I have a Pigma Micron 005, which has a line width of 0.2 of a millimetre. It's pretty tiny. But one better than that, I have a good old W.H. Smith drawing pen. Now, for our friends across in America, W.H. Smith is a newsagent stroke stationers that has been in existence in the UK for many, many years under different guises. But this is a 0.1 millimetre fine tip. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see the tip. It does actually exist. It is so look at it compared to the creases in my hands. It is so easy to destroy the tips of these fine liners because they're so delicate. You have to have a really delicate hand. So I am going to be super duper careful with this. I'm going to have to lean right in here, so if my hair sort of bobs into the camera shot, I'm sorry, because I really have to be able to see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to do my best to fill in the parts where that black line is missing, and this will go better in some areas than others. It depends on how steady your hand is as well, how good your eyesight is, and so on and so forth. And I definitely can't talk and do this at the same time. So far so good. Oh wow. The gel pen is actually clogging up the tip. I can see it. How I can see that is a miracle, but I can see it. So I'm going to have to be really careful here. I'm just going to pick out the worst offenders, I think. Like this one. It is really difficult to keep your hand steady when you're doing this. I don't think it helps either that I am not the most confident of persons. I'm not the most confident of people with ink at the best of times. I am very much a pencil person. And I'm always really worried. I mention it in my drawing videos a lot as well, particularly the scroller box videos, because I've limited myself to what's in the box. Excuse my hand there. I do voice my opinion that I'm always really worried about making a mistake and then not having a way to fix it, because with pencil there is always a way to fix things. But with ink, not so much. Oops. Yeah, that didn't go so well. I'm going to move this over so you don't have to keep looking at my hairy arm. The thing is as well with this nib, you can't press too hard with it because I think it's just going to disappear into the ferrule. Oh, that's just not happening. Right, let's try again. This is not how I envisaged the end of this video. Oh my. Oops, no, I didn't do too well with that one either. Okay. I think maybe this one will be my last one. Because see, from there on down it's a bit better. Oh, that was a good one. Alright, that looks a bit better anyway. Let's zoom out and have a look at the finished picture and see what we think now. And there we have it. That is the finished article. I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. I really, really am. I think the colour choices were a good shout, and I definitely think that it was worth taking the risk with the gel pen. Anyway, that's it for this colour along, guys. If you've made it this far, congratulations and well done, because you've stuck in well. I hope you're as pleased with the result on your page as I am with mine. Over the next few videos, I will be thinking about the next book that I will do a colour along in, so there will be another one coming up just shortly, but it may be a few videos time before it comes up. I'm painfully close to my wedding now, and I am trying to build up a bank of videos so that when I'm away you guys don't miss out on either a Monday or a Friday. Keep your eyes peeled and we shall get another colour along sorted soon enough. If you like this video, you know what to do by now. I'm getting really fed up saying this. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. There are 2 videos a week, one on a Monday, one on a Friday, and it's drawing stuff, art supplies and colouring. You know the score by now. Tell your friends, get them to come and visit, that would be absolutely fab, and I'll see you guys really, really soon back here in the Colour Cave. Enjoy your day!